Hello, phenomenal University of Waterloo students. It's Renata. I'm the Wellness Coordinator in Electrical and Computer Engineering, and I hope you're holding up super well. Believe it or not, and I'm super excited to share with you that our most popular wellness tip to date has been on emotional intelligence. So it's been so popular that I'm bringing you part two to emotional intelligence. So I'm just going to share my screen. And today we're going to talk about another aspect of emotional intelligence. Of course, many researchers have done many different things with emotional intelligence, but the Ruler program is a program that was created by the University of Yale's Center for Emotional Intelligence. And Ruler is specifically a program for K-12. They've included it in schools, but an amazing thing happened when they started introducing Ruler. They introduced it originally thinking it was going to help the kids. And then they discovered that parents and teachers and staff administrators at the university also found that their emotional intelligence was strengthening. So even though the program is designed for K to 12 children, it actually will help people at any age. So I am sharing Ruler with you today. And basically Ruler stands for recognizing our emotions, understanding our emotions, being able to label them effectively, expressing them in an appropriate and healthy way, and then being able to regulate our emotions, change our state. And I just want to talk about understanding for a moment, because sometimes we think we're upset about one thing, but actually if we dig down underneath, there's another thing that's going on for us. So I found myself really impatient in line the other day, and I was frustrated that I had to stand in line. I mean, I was doing good emotional regulation. I did not take it out on my poor cashier, but I realized as I was standing there that I really wasn't upset about the line. I was just having a moment adapting to all these changes that COVID-19 is forcing on all of us. And these changes are no one's fault. It's just the situation and what is, but this what is was kind of getting to me that day. So that's part of understanding. And then labeling is it's the helplessness. It's the feeling like I can't do what I want today. I have to have all these kind of conditions put on me each day. Feelings of frustration. I miss my mom. I can't go and visit my mom. Those were all of the emotions. Grieving is a big emotion for all of us right now. A lot of people are grieving just the change of our pattern of life, grieving the loss of our expectation about how school is supposed to look. We want to be in a classroom and we're all online. Freedoms, whatever it is. I know that there's co-op job losses. So there's a lot of things for us to be grieving right now, and just labeling, understanding that that's actually what's underneath, whatever emotion is underneath could be grief, and then labeling it effectively. And then most important is expressing it in a positive way. There's a really great analogy that I think is crucially important in times where we're all feeling distressed or when we're feeling heated with our emotions. And that analogy is about if you take a plate from the cupboard and you smash it on the ground and the plate breaks into 1,000 pieces, and you say to the plate, "I'm sorry," does that put the plate back together again? No. There are some things that once we say them and once we do them, they can never be undone and they will never be forgotten. And they can permanently scar a relationship or friendship in a way that we don't really want when we're in our normal state. And so it's when our emotions are actually most heightened that we have to be the most careful with our expression and really think beyond the moment. What are the implications if I say this or do this out of anger or fear or grief or whatever it is? Do I want that implication long term? And then emotional regulation is, if we figure out, no, I don't want that, how are we going to shift or work with our emotions so that they're in a better place? And emotional regulation is a lot about keeping ourselves calm right now, being the voice of reason inside of our own heads, practical. We all need a lot of emotional regulation right now. So Ruler actually uses 4 tools to help build those 5 levels. One of them is the charter. Now, in the schools, they would make this charter with the whole class. And the class would make decisions about how they want to be together and how do they want to respond to their emotions or talk about difficult things, etc., deal with challenges. You can make a charter with yourself. You can make it with your family or your roommates, whoever you're self-isolating with. If you're there by your, and even if you're with a group, you can still make a charter about who do I want to be through this situation. When I feel myself getting angry or frustrated, how do I want to act? And really kind of make that agreement with yourself that this is my ideal behavior that I'm working towards. There will be slip ups. You will have bad moments, just like we all do, like I did in the grocery store. Okay, we all do. I'm starting to see it more and more. Folks are having a moment as we all cope with COVID-19. So, what's your ideal, your charter, and then you keep working towards it. And if you have a bad moment, it's a little self forgiveness and self compassion might be helpful. Mood meter I talked about in the first video, which I'll talk about again a little differently this time. Meta moment is that pause. It's that thinking through the long-term implications. Really, do I want this outcome that I'm going to get? There's that old analogy when I was taught growing up as a kid, when you get angry, count to 10 before you speak. Very helpful. I still use that today. So meta moment is that pause, take a few deep breaths, count to 10, think through, what do I want to do? How do I want to handle this? I want to make sure that I'm not in that broken plate position. And then the blueprint is a tool for reflecting on our emotions. So let's just talk about that blueprint for a second. And this is a copy of the Yale Institute blueprint. I've included the link. You can print it and use it. It's very reflective. How did I feel? How do I think the other person felt? What caused my feelings? This is getting at that understanding and being able to properly label the feelings that we're having. How did I express and regulate my feelings? How could I have handled this situation better? What can I do now if I've broken that plate? How am I going to put it back together? And there are also a few other questions that didn't fit on the slide. So you have the link to the blueprint and you can work through that. You can use this in advance to kind of think about how you want to react. You can do it after a situation has happened to help you figure things through and make a plan for next time. So the mood meter, you may recall, this is the one that was in the first video, and we talked about, first of all, using it to label how you really feel right now and how to identify where our emotions are. And then also the second way to use it was to see if we could shift our emotions along the axes. So if I found myself restless right now, how could I move over to lively instead of being in these kind of more negative emotions? So how can you state generate? And this is part of emotional regulation. That was one way you could have used that. But the Center for Emotional Intelligence at Yale, they have another way that you can also use this that's super exciting. And that is that they notice that red emotions, which are things like anger or restlessness, we often think of as negative. But actually, those emotions heighten awareness and they can actually give us the additional strength and stamina to address challenges or meet a competition, to be passionate and inspiring in a talk. So I might be using some of those red emotions right now. Emotions that increase creativity, those are the yellow emotions, and they're good for problem solving, brainstorming, coming up with new ideas. Emotions in the blue area, they're very good for deductive reasoning, critical thinking, empathy, and of course, in the green area, those emotions increase a sense of calm and relaxation and peacefulness. They are excellent for anything related to relationships and working with others, such as collaboration, consensus building. They're also great emotions for self-reflection. So that's another way that you can use the mood meter. So remembering, developing, recognizing our emotions, understanding where they came from, what caused them, labeling them effectively or correctly, expressing in a healthy way, and how to regulate our emotions and shift into a different state. And four tools that you can use: the charter with yourself and or with your family, your roommates, the mood meter in a few different ways. You can use the mood meter, that meta moment, taking that pause, thinking things through, taking a deep breath helps us self-regulate, express our emotions more effectively, and then that blueprint for reflection and perspective taking later. So there you go. That is Emotional Intelligence Part 2. I hope it was helpful. I still miss all of you, and I will see you when we are all back on campus together.